With interest, the hero is already coming to find out who wanted him so badly. The man waiting for him, named Wuda, turned out to be an employee of the judicial department. He was sent to the general by the court. The hero immediately realized in front of him is Li Si's man. He asks him to get out as he does not listen to his orders. The man came here at the judge's request, but in his mind, he wasn't too happy with the reception he received. Sitting down, Zhao starts to ask if he's arrived, if he is on His Majesty's errand. The man replies in the negative, but the matter is very important. Wuda wonders if Han Fei is among the final ones. He wants to eliminate him to avoid unfortunate consequences. In response, the hero shares the assumption that Li Si just wants to deal with Fei by Zhao's hands. And how does pettiness sway an entire state in the first place? Ending with the hero telling him that Han Fei is now on his side and he's not going to kill him. And to finish, Zhao relays the order to deal with Wuda outside the city. A man screams in panic, not realizing what is happening. Will the hero go against the judge for the sake of some traitor? But all with just one punch to the face, forcing Wuda's mouth shut. And they calmly and quietly take him away to carry out their orders. The hero didn't want to have conflicts with Li Shi, but now he is his enemy. Zhao has allied himself with Fei, and now his position as chief advisor is in danger. After arriving in Yun City, which belongs to the Li family, they are met by the village headman, and approaching the captain he asks him to announce to all that news from this village will be read out. Giving a sign of respect, the foreman and his assistants accepted such an assignment. The captain begins to read out specifically those who died in battle, highlighting their bravery and courage. The parents of the people on the list began to cry bitter tears. As a reward, all the dead are given the title of the 4th class. In the crowd of residents is a Yanner girl. She wanted to hear the news about Qi. Having finished the list of the dead, the captain begins to read out the list of the titled. The girl is insanely glad she didn't hear her lover's name on the death list. The 9th title Li Qing received is announced. The positions of commander of the personal guard of Zhenchuo. And Li Da's awards were announced. Everyone was happy to see such success, and that's where the list ends. Yanner was aghast at Brother Qi's absence there. Why isn't he on the list? She asks the colonel where her husband is. He was supposed to be serving with the Ovationers. Mr. Zhua was surprised. He asked her if her husband had really served with them. She confirmed everything that was said, and then a thought came into his mind. If this was Zhao Qi's ancestral home, after all, when he went into the service, there was no one left behind. While the girl was crying, it was explained to the man that Yanner was pregnant by Zhao. After listening to what they had to say to him, he got down from his horse. The girl was horrified at the thought that something terrible had happened to her lover. But instead of notification of something dire, all the soldiers got down on their knees. The man explains that Zhao Wei is the benefactor of the great Qin's army of millions. They did not mention anything about him since he did not tell them about his family. And Pang Zhuang began to list all of Zhao Qi's heroic deeds. He said Li Qing, Li Da, and his other subordinates. Everyone was surprised and immensely happy about this development of events. Now the girl could not worry about her husband. Yanner began to cry with happiness that her lover was all right. And then, the girl abruptly started having crazy pains, which turned out to be contractions. The woman calls the obstetrician. Meanwhile, near Yun City in the senior general's mansion, a soldier came to General Meng. The man was not pleased at such insolence, just to barge in like that. Pan apologizes, but he reports that he has an insanely important matter to attend to. But the old general remarks that even if an enemy army has attacked, he should report calmly. But Pan is simply recounting what happened in General Zhao Qi's home village. Upon hearing this information, Meng's father is in a state of shock, and Pan wonders if he should give the general's money to his wife. He's going to prepare clothes and valuables, 500 guards, and send it all to Li's village immediately. One quiet night, in the village of Li, all the top generals have come to the village. The chief is wondering where Zhao Qi's fiancée is now. The foreman replies that she is in one of the houses. And it turns out that she gave birth to a double. Part of the man envies the hero that so much. And Meng doesn't understand why his father doesn't look at him, and explains quite lucidly that the son is 30 years old and has not had more than one child. And now Meng doesn't understand why Zhao had kids out of wedlock. It turns out the guy's married to him. The girl is notified that General Senior and General Main want to see her. Yanner apologizes to the guests for the noise while doing so. They reassure me and ask me not to worry. The eldest asked to call himself uncle. But man to the brothers, the girl was surprised at such an unexpected acquaintance. Meng remarks that she is so happy. They didn't know though, since he didn't tell them anything about her. Noticing a part of the pendant, the man thought he had seen something similar in Jantai Palace. How did it end up here? But the girl explains that it's not the hero's fault. She found out about the pregnancy after Zhao Qi left. Meng thought about the fact that the hero was really cheating, which turned out to be the case. And his father promises to tell him about the event. Also, quite a few servants and money they will provide for her. She thanks them for such a nice gesture. He claims he only did what needed to be done. Already out on the street, the hero's Meng orders to look after the girl, and tells of the 500 guards. And then the kid's father turns to him. He asks his son if he knows why the Meng family was so accepted by the king. And he assumes it's because of their loyalty to the king. But my father says that beyond that, there was a knack for assessing the situation and setting yourself up for a hit at the right moment. And at the end he asks me to write a letter to Xiangyang about what happened. The son wonders why. If the king knows that General Zhao has a wife and sons, he will trust him more, and therefore give him more important orders. Meng notes his father's foresight at such a moment. And looking skyward, the hero envisions that one day the kingdom of Qin will control the entire celestial empire. In the sunlight, in the palace of Zhatai, one of the advisors runs to the king. Inwardly, all the work done by the colonels is being talked over. And to them, the obtaining of land. Weila's advisors point out that the newly acquired Huang lands must be defended at this time. But Zhao Qi is standing in their defense. There's no need to worry. But he wonders what the dignitary thinks of Zhao Qi. And the hero begins to be praised. Few people could do and get so many feats in 6 months. The king remarks that they are insanely lucky that Zhao was born in their state. But at the same time, he is beginning to worry over his control. He has tremendous ambition, so more serious matters should be given to him with caution. And then he gets word that news has come from Yun City. And there he learns that the hero has a fiancé and children. He mentally commends him for that. Now the sovereign has more confidence in the hero. He has earned it by his deed, and he orders him to be rewarded. But he read a familiar name in the letter, but he couldn't remember who it was. He was told that the girl who was to marry his son was also named Yan Er. In his mind, he immediately had the thought that it was Li Shi's daughter. It turns out that he would be able to control Zhao Qi much better now. The thread is right in his hand, and the king, with great joy, orders it. He announces the wedding of 2 young men, 2 more of the finest concubines to the hero, and a huge amount of horses and gold. Having served all of this, he took the order. Such generous gifts show that the king now trusts the hero, and how valuable he is to him. And now the king has to hope that Zhao is an honest man and he will do something stupid. And here's Zhao Qi's residence. The protagonist is informed that Han Fei has arrived. But Zhao asks him to remove all formalities. He also, a little later, admires a fine-looking man. He blushed a little and thanked the gentleman. Afterwards, he asks what business he has called him for. The hero replies that it was purely to talk. He's wondering about his relationship with Li Xiao. They went to school together. As positively as possible replies that they are very good friends. In his thoughts, he remarks that no matter how talented the man is, he is quite naive. But Hanyu talks about possibly wanting to kill him. The man doesn't understand then the hero. The hero explains that Li Xi's man arrived here recently, but he didn't want to create a better attitude. And just kill Han, no problem, on orders. The man was shocked by such deadly information, and Qi wondered if he thought the hero was cheating. He denies it, and says Zhao certainly doesn't need it. But a man who's considered a friend killing another man, and the hero observes that Han is an insanely smart man, but a thoroughly disgusting judge of character. Li Si wanted blood since he feared such a strong competitor. Yi Han realizing everything he heard and agreeing with everything said, maintaining his inability to deal with people. And just Zhao Qi told about it. So that man should be more careful, or else the most dangerous is people. Han thanked his master for such information and promised to be more vigilant of his friend. But the hero wonders what's the point of keeping his distance with him if Li wants him dead. And the man needs to do what his rival was so afraid Han would take his place. This will be his punishment. But the man wonders that he can't go to the government. He can't then help the gentleman here. And Qi wonders if he can't go for it. And on his knees, he notes that he's going into government. Just what Li was afraid of. And at the same time, he wonders if the hero is not afraid that he will betray someone again. According to Zhao, many people are afraid of the change in people's hearts, but the hero himself is not, since he can read people. And if a man gets the slightest idea of betrayal, he will eliminate it. Han says that if someone else had told him that, he wouldn't have believed it. But he doesn't doubt that the hero has supernatural powers. And with the help of the system, the hero determines that Han Fei is now loyal to him to the end. And then a soldier reports to the general that Feng Xiuji, who is in charge of political affairs, has arrived. Zhao is surprised that it happened so quickly. He orders him to come here. Qi notes that Han Fei's power move has already been made, and the man wonders if one of the higher-ranking officials of the court has come here. The hero exposes this, and says that Feng will handle politics here and Han will be his assistant. But no one must know about the relationship between the hero and the man. Upon entering the room, Feng Chuji greeted the general in return, and the hero greets. They pass on the courtesies to each other, even though the hero tells the man that they'll get along, but you still can't trust him. If Zhao wants to live a little longer? After the greeting, Feng wonders who the man is beside the general, and the hero introduces him. And with a happy expression on his face, the man said he was glad to meet him. Turns out he asks for a lot of Hanya's literary work, and he says he admires him immensely. The hero asks everyone to sit down, and in Feng's mind, he thinks about the fact that Han Fei should have disagreed to go to Qin's side. But something has changed. He notices that something is always going on around General Zhao Wei. Could Fei's transition be his doing too? And at the last moment, he thinks that something terrible might happen if Zhao uses Han Fei for his own purposes. And then the hero asks to hear him out, though before that Feng asked to hear him out. Zhao Qi remarks that Han Fei has an insane amount of loyalty in this territory, so he proposes to make him his deputy, and all the more reason for him to prove his loyalty and just plain usefulness. Feng likes the hero's suggestion, and in his mind, he realizes that Zhao is definitely not up to anything, because he's just ready to give up on Hanya. Fiyin wonders if the man is willing to be his subordinate. He does, and promises to serve faithfully. And so Zhao Qi rejoices in his thoughts that Han's first stage is successful. And when he reaches the heights, he will become very important to the hero. And thus, as long as he can establish order among the surrendered soldiers, all the surrendered soldiers are gathered in one place, and order them to be quiet. Many don't understand why the general ordered them all to be rounded up. They have only two choices, either become slaves or go to the captive army. And the third one, like General Bai Qi once did. But Zhao can't do that? Everyone was starting to get scared. Why were all those soldiers out there? But they all hope for the best. The prisoners wonder if General Zhao is the one who killed their king. But they are ordered to be silent, and that General Qi still has time to deal with them. The soldiers began to feel fear from the fact that General Zhao had them, and that they would be treated the same way as the king. But all noise is cut short by a soldier who threatens to die in them now, if they don't calm down. But the soldiers don't care what they die of, arrows or Zhao's hands, and they say it's both. And then they are interrupted by a voice wondering why. Everyone is struck with fear. It was the general who appeared before them, whom they've dubbed the god of assassination, and he wonders where their courage was during the battle. Sitting down in a special seat, he wonders who broke the discipline, and one brave soldier says it was him. The hero remarks that he had the courage to do such a thing, and in his mind, he realizes that they are already full of despair, and now they need to be morally finished. Zhao wonders why everyone was so worried when they heard his name. Is it because they're afraid he'll kill them? And since the soldier is simply silent, you can understand that's the way it is. But that's not why he's here. He wants to give them a new life. Everyone is surprised that he doesn't want to kill them. He promises not to touch them, but in return, they must answer all his questions. And he asks all the related questions about the army in the Han state, how much they paid, what time they served, and more. And the soldiers reply that everything was forced, and if they refused them, they were sent to prison, and there was no help for the families. And the soldiers of the kingdom of Qin remark that this is quite sad, because they've never seen money at all. But then the soldier shouts his displeasure at all the taunts. The whole army started laughing loudly. The hero observes that Han's soldiers are like frogs longer than their noses can see. Many people liked that comparison and wanted to memorize it. What the soldiers didn't realize was that it wasn't like this. One of the greatest strengths of the kingdom of Qin was the legal system. The hero asks the soldiers to tell the Khans how they have everyone must serve at the age of 17. But after 6 months, he can leave, and each soldier is paid a year's salary. And the hero asks if they were forced to serve, where would they get that discipline from? And tells them they've been cheated. Killing enemies can get you titles and therefore money. They've never heard of it, and it makes you wonder if they wanted to humiliate them and then kill them. The kingdom of Qin was able to reach such heights because of such a system, and the hero tells his story of how he got here, and the soldiers began to support him in his storytelling. And to become like Zhao, only a Qin resident can become like Zhao, because only they have such a mercy. The soldiers begin to realize that the Tsar's court has been deceiving them all along. The thought that they would have been better off being born in the Qin Kingdom entered their heads. Now they are morally broken, just like the hero wanted, and suggests that they join the ranks of the Qin army since Han had fallen anyway. Right now, 100,000 soldiers are in the dark, without any hope. And they need to be shown the light, and they will reach out. Jay remarks that they don't have many options and lists their options. They are deadly to them. This way, they'll be part of the regular Qin army. They won't become slaves. They were shocked at this. The aide wonders if this is the right decision. It will be reported, and an explanation will be needed. But the general notes that the sovereign wants to unite all the lands of the Celestial Empire. So Zhao is doing the right thing. But if still the Czar does not like it and the hero is brought to justice, he will not be covered up, and shouted towards the soldiers, wondering if they were ready to serve in Qin's army. Everyone agrees to this proposal and swear allegiance to the great Qin. Now the hero has 100,000-strong army in his hands. The hero explains that he is giving them all amnesty and service, and he hopes they will appreciate such a gift, since he's put everything on the line, and putting your hand on your heart. Promise to be loyal to both the king and General Zhao. Upon leaving, the hero asks all soldiers to register on the subordinate list. The soldiers take note of the hero's determination and how clever he is. And now each of the two boys will be listened to by 100,000 troops. And one would hope that this is purely the beginning of their careers. Well, if they're loyal to him, now that Zhao had 200,000 soldiers, he would gain an unimaginable amount of experience on the battlefield. It won't be long before he reaches the formerly heavenly stage. Already near the palace, he noticed a white horse. The hero was surprised to see the Meng family's horse here. He wonders to the soldier if someone came in while he was away. Just then, the evil Pan showed up and shouted the hero's name with all his might, and saying that he was to blame. Confused, the hero thinks that has already learned about the captured soldiers. He said he was with General Meng. They've come to vouch for the hero, for his actions. The hero asks for an explanation. It turns out that they came about Yanner and wasn't happy that Zhao hadn't said anything about it before that. The hero questions everything he says, but he says she's not Li Seung's daughter and they're not engaged. How come he asks something he apparently doesn't know at all? And then Pan gives a letter from General Meng and asks Zhao to read it. He was as sure as he could be that there was nothing wrong with it. After reading the contents of the letter, he dropped it on the floor. And out of shock, he cried out questioningly, "Did he really have children?" And it turns out Zhao Qi's dream came true. His beloved gave birth. After hearing all this, he decides to return to the village. Pan wonders if he's ready, since the journey will take a month. The hero stopped abruptly, something the man did not expect. The hero agreed that he couldn't go back. The lands had only recently been conquered, and if he left them, problems could start to arise. There was happiness in that dream, but also death. Things could happen here that would make me lose my head, and Yan Heir will be alone with the children. Pan remarks that the hero has almost made a fatal mistake, but the man reassures him and claims that His Majesty already knows, and the girl is already safe. General Meng helped both with the girl's safety and also helped to gain the king's trust. Thereby, kneeling down, Zhao Qi thanked Senior Pan and asked him to convey his gratitude to the generals. But the fact that Yanner is Li Si's daughter is completely unexpected. The hero wonders if her father knows about it. Yi Pan tells us that Li Si had disowned his daughter and she had lived thanks solely to the villagers. The anger of the hero had no limit. He did not understand how such a thing could be done to his own daughter. Pan explains that he wanted to marry his daughter to the king's eldest son, but she was already pregnant, so the marriage could not be consummated. In his thoughts, the hero realized that although he had previously thought of not touching Li Si, but after that, the man asks the hero not to do anything stupid. After all, Li Seo is close to the king. If you become an enemy to him, you will also become an enemy to the king. Chao thanked Pan and promised to restrain himself. But in his mind, he would remember this for himself, and also asked for the man's help with sending the letter home, so the girl is not afraid. In it, he promises to come back to her, thanking her for all she has done, and how much she held on to their love. After a while, the hero thanks Pan for agreeing to send the letter. In return, Zhao owes him a drink, and as the man was on his way, a suggestion formed behind the hero's back that it was the armor of the Meng family. It turned out to be Mr. Feng and Han Gongzi, and the character explains the whole situation that happened, and explains that he didn't report it because it was a private matter. Feng corrected the hero, and shared the assumption that the hero should have been informed of General Meng's trip, but Zhao didn't know anything about it, and she also noticed that underneath the words, man, something is hidden. And then, he wonders where Feng and Han were. They were at the military camp. checking on the progress of the prisoners. As soon as the hero registered the captives into the army, Feng immediately reported it to the king, even though Zhao was afraid that he might not like it. But from Feng's reaction, everything seemed to be fine. The main weapon is Han, who will sooner or later take away Li Si's place, and then the hero will take his revenge. A whole month later, in Zhantai Palace, Li Shu heard about the hero's actions with the prisoners. He was mad and knew that Zhao was finished now. He wondered if Mr. Feng's report was accurate. The assistant confirmed it, but wonders if the man wants to be his enemy for sure. But the man was unfavorable. The daughter, in his opinion, was his limit. Without marrying the king's son, Wu Da's messenger went to the Han lands and disappeared. It's all Zhao Qi. How long will he stay at court if he's soft? But in order to take out Zhao Qi, General Meng must be dealt with. He will now stand up for the hero. In the meantime, a great many people had gathered in one place. They all watched the battle between the two generals. Li wonders what's going on here, he's greeted. General Emin and Huan have a tradition of putting up with each other when they meet. And just then, the king invited them to his house. And then the duel ends with one of the generals winning. Meng has emerged victorious and says that Huang is completely weakened. The evil general asks for revenge, but the man refuses, and the winner walks away with joy in his heart. Li Si old age to reassure the general, saying that Meng is still in the dawn of his strength. Even though they are both first-class generals and are equals for the kingdom, things are a bit different in reality. And now Zhao Qi is the center of attention. And if he gets promoted again, Meng will be promoted too. But General Huan's position will decline even more. Li Si tried to make Huang Ya an enemy of Meng, and thus of Zhao. None of the man's enemies had ever survived. When everyone was assembled, the king wanted to get straight to the point. Even with all of Meng's eloquence, still Zhao Qi is facing death. The sovereign asks everyone what they think of Feng's report on the Han territories. Li Si immediately expressed his displeasure. The argument was that the hero had broken the rules of the kingdom, but immediately Meng interceded. He remarked that by all laws, slaves could be forgiven if they had done a deed. Li notes that he equated the soldiers with these renegades and gave them a salary. So Zhao is at fault. But Meng asks if there were financial problems in Han territory. There weren't, which means Zhao did everything right. Li Si immediately started to arise because of the tone with which the general spoke. But the man swept up that he was a general, and the king labeled him rude. And he asked for a reward for Zhao Qi's success in luring enemy soldiers to the Qin side. Li asks to hear Huang Ya's opinion, as Meng is interested in making sure Zhao is okay. The sovereign agrees, and asks General Huang Ya's opinion on the matter. That one began with the thought that Zhao had indeed acted brazenly. Li Shu started to get excited that he was going to succeed. But here, the general notes that this method has helped end riots and insurrections. So he supports. The judge was in indescribable shock at this. Meng remarks on Huang Ya's shrewdness, and the latter replies that only the good name of the kingdom is wanted by him. Meng understood what Li Shi wanted to accomplish, except he wasn't very good at turning him against Zhao Qi. And after listening to everyone, the sovereign additionally flew Zhao's words about uniting all the lands of the Celestial Empire. The companions began to talk about how Zhao Qi is an excellent both military and politician. He's the future kingdom's. The king observes that the hero was willing to be punished for what he had done, which shows a supreme sense of duty, which is very commendable. All the more reason to recruit Han Fei. With his help, they'll be able to take control of Han. And the sovereign rebuked the judge for being prejudiced against the hero, and that he was burying the talent. He tries to justify himself by saying that he wanted to protect the Qin laws that had been brought down, and Meng remarks that he'd better mind his own business, because politics and war don't work out so well with him. Now that army of Han soldiers will be under the hero's control. But it must never happen again. He also assumes that a neighboring state will want to attack Han, so Qin needs to be gitters. Now the goals of the kingdom of Zhao and Wei. Their goal is to unite the entire Celestial Empire, and whoever opposes them will die. And after his speech, the sovereign sends everyone back when the meeting is over. Li Sai asks for his daughter to be transferred here as she and her children are in poverty. If you can't figure it out the usual way. Then the man decided to take away the hero of the female's expensive. Meng, realizing what Li wants to do, asks the king not to give him a girl with children. It would be dangerous for them. At once, the three men began to talk. And Huang Ya didn't understand why Meng was meddling in family matters. Main talks about what the father did for his daughter, and how much the residents helped the girl. The sovereign was shocked to hear the truth. There was no end to the chaos of the argument. Everyone tried to prove that he was right. It got to the point where Li Sung threatened Meng. But the man stood his ground, defending the heroine. And all this horror was stopped by a cold voice that commanded a halt. The emperor doesn't like that the lovers aren't together, and that's all Li Sung wants. Frustrated father realizes he won't be the winner in this argument, so he admits his mistake. The king will only pin down that Yaner will only come home if he wants to, and even so, Meng Wu will keep an eye on the kids. And already very tired of all this fighting, he asks everyone to leave. Before leaving, Meng addresses the prince. On a personal matter, he wonders if the sovereign still has a jasper pendant, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. And with a laugh, the man says goodbye. But the head notes that Meng still worries about the smallest things. He began to think. He remembered that he had given such a pendant to Dun-Er a long time ago. A girl a man couldn't be with before he became king. He'd like to meet her again. He promised her to unite the Celestial Empire, to make her a princess. And their child would be the heir. But if she doesn't like it, he's willing to take a trip with her, as long as she comes back. Meanwhile, at the judge's residence, Li Si was just furious at everything he had been told, and how he had embarrassed himself in front of the king. The assistant judge says he may have a chance for revenge. It is rumored that Zhao and Wei states want to attack Han, and Zhao and Huan Fei's main objective. But at least it's a good chance. It would be very dangerous and there could be riots. And then the man, with a huge smile, announces that he has the perfect plan. A short time later, on the way out of the capital of the kingdom of Qin, Meng tells Li Si not to get into trouble, and that Yaner will go with him anyway. But he's sure she can't disobey her own father. And he hopes that when they go with him, the general will not interfere. Meng was very displeased at such words, but still promised to keep things fair. And at that very moment, he'll tell all his soldiers to speed up, and sets the bar at 30 kilometers a day. From such a speed, Li Si doesn't feel very comfortable, and realizes that Meng did it on purpose. If it wasn't for the goal of reuniting all the land, he would have killed that asshole. He'll also have an assistant watch over the neighbors. I don't care if Zhao or Fei Han dies, as long as Feng lives. And this evening, at Zhao Qi's residence, all the work that has been done is discussed. Feng praises the work of Han Na in his place, and also the brilliant work of General Zhao Qi. Han is about to leave as the time is getting late. He says goodbye to Feng in one of the letters that fell into Han's hands. There was a note saying that someone wanted to meet him at night. And so, with the coming of the moon, having passed the guards, but not quite luckily, they spot him. But one of Zhao Qi's aides informs him that the general has been waiting for a very long time already. The soldiers saluted the general and paid their respects, and Han was very glad to see him and addressed him as Your Majesty. Everyone was puzzled by this kind of treatment towards Zhao Qi. Even the hero himself didn't understand, and he asked the man why he addressed him that way. Han remarks that during this time, he saw with his own eyes the indescribable talent of a hero, and everyone else now addressed him the same way Han did. Zhao asks to be addressed this way, only when meeting in person. And now Han wondered what business the hero had gathered at such a late hour for. The hero asks. The hero remembers that he promised to give them martial arts skills as a gift. The man was shocked by this. He didn't think he was ready for this. But the soldier wonders what's going on. Han explains that with his power, one can reach the level of a god and achieve immortality. And people had questions. But Zhao decides to show it all with an example that everyone can understand. With 2 fingers, he breaks the blade apart as if with scissors. When they saw this before their eyes, they thought they were the reincarnation of a god. Han shared that in Zhao Qi's prison. He was able to break down the wall. So the strength he showed now was only a part of the soldiers couldn't believe such divine power. And to believe that they were going to pass on such knowledge, the hero explained that it was a reward for their loyalty. But what he revealed was just the tip of the iceberg, and begins the process of transferring combat skills to 4th people. The hero promises to tell them today about the 5 steps that precede the comprehension of skills. Men begin to feel extraordinary strength and power flowing through their bodies. He'll pinch to relax. They need to clear their meridians. In the first stage, they will be able to unleash inner strength. But that's just the beginning. To learn combat skills, the hero can share power with them. And if the heroes are loyal to him, he can continue to train them. Today, they have begun to take their first steps, but no one can know about them. So he also said that he got a message from Meng, asking him to read it to Hanya. After reading his letter, the man was outraged at this state of affairs. Han is now even more convinced of Li Shi's nature. What a scoundrel he is. He does everything for himself. Zhao is grateful to Ming for such help. If it wasn't for him, the hero would have gotten punished. But the important thing is that Yaner is now protected. The Meng family had always been loyal to Qin, but with the arrival of the second emperor, they were executed. And now Zhao Qi promises to protect them all. Han apologizes to the hero, because he thinks Li Xiong's insanity is his fault. But Zhao reassures the man, and says that the sovereign is a smart man, and he will keep an eye on him. Huang promises the hero that Li Si will pay for everything he's done. Jie remarks that Li Si has done many bad things to Yaner, and sooner or later he will answer for his actions. To the soldiers, he's going to raise Feng and Hanya's guard, since Li Seo is very vindictive, and when they wonder, also the general's security. He remarks that he can handle himself for now. The hero will wait until he's strong enough, and then Zhao will realize his new plan. After opening the door, the general promised to explain everything to them, and Li Qing would show them the way. One of the caves, a crowd of soldiers came out into the wilderness. They were selected as elite soldiers, 200 of the best. The general wonders if people know the reason they're here. They have no idea what awaits them, but they are ready to carry out any order of the hero without any problem. Zhao asks them to take their time. He wanted to ask one question first. Do they want to be loyal solely to their general and not to the kingdom? Do they want to be the sword of a general who will be invisible to the state? After all the hero's words, the soldiers were silent for a while, but soon taking his sword in his hands and cutting his wound, they take a blood oath that they will be loyal to their general for the rest of their lives. The hero asks the system for a list of people with loyalties below 60, but the system didn't find any. According to its calculations, there are no such people here. Insanely satisfied with this result, the hero promises that he will not let the soldiers down. Now they will get more money opportunity to get the title. All the soldiers were grateful for this. Also towards the end, Zhao Qi asks them to memorize their new names. And slipping through your magic, each and every one of the soldiers was covered with energy, and once more they promised not to let him down. He hands Li Qing the method of training the new shadow guards to Li Qing. Now we can also rest a bit, for a while Li Qie is taking care of it. The chiefs of shadow countries will change, because of the fact that through them, you will be able to find out. The only person the hero is afraid of is Yuncheng, but it's lucky that he treats the hero well. The hero is going to attack the state of Zhao and make it a gift to the king. But Zhao's attack is impossible. They only fought another state. They need a year to prepare and decree, but there's help there in the form of a god of war who helps them a lot. His first name is Kai and his last name is Guo. It's the chancellor of this state. Huang wonders if the hero is joking. Only this man can destroy all 6 states, and that's the reason for the nickname. Huan was shocked at this, and the hero ordered them to walk with him to the barracks. Meanwhile, in the state of Zhao, the advisors approached the sovereign and asked if they should organize a military campaign. Qin is assumed to have suffered losses in the Han takeover, and in general, how can a senior general be afraid of some boy on guard? He was outraged. Zhao Qi was not a boy, he was nicknamed the god of killing for his actions. But the chancellor thinks he's just chasing glory, and the assassination of Zhao and Feng is already being planned. The sovereign praised such a plan, and the chancellor asks not to overpraise it, though he was glad of this. Especially when they attack, there will be 10,000 Khan soldiers inside. Who will revolt? The emperor supports the chancellor. He wants to attack the Han, even though the general is against it. The chancellor wonders if he doesn't want to help expand the state's territory. In fact, that's an order. The confused man didn't know what to say, and then bowed and said he saw no problem with it, though in his mind he realizes that the Tsar can't be persuaded, and the state is in danger. Within a few months, a full-fledged exercise is already taking place in Han territory. All of them are ready for battle under the slogan that they are fighting for Qin's expansion. The hero's heart will overflow with courage and strength. His level and skills have gotten even better during this time. Everyone praises him for having such a knack for controlling the army. He has already created an entire army system, which will consist of 10 regiments. It won't be long before Zhao and teach all the soldiers to improve themselves. They have trained several formation today. He passes the principles of training to the commander. He also asks Li for news. Zhang Han reported that he was already fully prepared to act. Although Zhao had thought that unprompted they would attack. From that he was surprised. It is also reported that there were originally 2 elimination squads, but they got another one, and it's still unclear why. Zhao is surprised by this, and assumes he's even more popular now. Now the hero has a desire to meet them, a little later, passing through space on horseback. The Zhao Kingdom's assassination squad came out to attack the hero. They were overjoyed, since they saw their target. The subordinates are worried about why the hero has no guards. Maybe it's a trap. But their boss claims the hero always walks like that. Hero looking around the city, I noticed something. They want to launch an attack. one they want to send to report it. They have one chance to kill Zhao or Feng. They have to do it perfectly. The hero dismounted from his horse in front of one of his soldiers. On the roof, archers prepared to fire on the roof, and the leader gives the order to launch an attack on their main target. Along with the men with swords, arrows from the archers flew towards the hero as well. The hero was disappointed from the fact that they had been following him for a month for this ambush. The arrows are repelled by the Qin soldiers in a blink of an eye, and the onslaught of killers are trying to hold off. The townspeople were shocked by this, overwhelmed by the indescribable horror of death. The girl begged for help to escape these bloodthirsty men. The soldier stands in front of her and tells her to get out of here, because it's even more dangerous. But it turns out they are one of the killers of this unit. But she fails to wound the soldier. In an instant, he stabbed at her. Soldiers must be on guard. There are murderers among the civilian population. We must protect the general. The hero changes his attitude towards them. He evaluates their decision to hide during the chaos. He would like to see the author of this idea. And the thugs were confident that even dozens of soldiers wouldn't stop them. And they would kill the target. Also, the hero decides to call it a day. The head of the assassins hears a fitting sound coming towards him. It was the sound of armor. It looked like it was an ambush from the beginning. A huge number of soldiers formed in the street, looking like a mob. All the murderers are surrounded with all their might. They immediately beg for mercy, realizing their position. But the general decides they're worthy of life. So he gives the order to kill them all. And to the begging for mercy, the lives of many are ending. A hero stood in the middle of this street, but the remaining mercenary decides to put everything on the line and attack Zhao. But the hero doesn't appreciate this, emphasizing that he does things slowly. The assassin was shocked at how quickly the hero reacted to the attack. With just 2 fingers, he stops the steel blade, and there was no way he could draw or move his sword. He became convinced that the man in front of him was not a man, but just a monster. With one punch, Zhao is almost slammed into the ground. It is reported to the general that all opponents have been eliminated. The living head of the attackers appreciated the hero's ability, but said that the hero had not won yet. And interrupting, Zhao wondered if the man wanted to talk about attacking Feng. Shocked at the fact that the hero knew this too, the general confirmed that he knew everything, and those killers were eliminated before the last. Li King must now finish off all the remaining opponents and move the head to the guest hall. After a while, already in the specified place brought So the hero the right man. He has the first Zhao wondering which state was the customer for him. But what he gets in response is a question about how long he knew about the surveillance. From what the hero knew himself, the man could not believe it. The mercenary assumed they had everything in absolute control, but it turned out to be exactly the opposite. It was the easiest thing for a hero to do. The other kingdoms can't attack Han. You have to kill the leadership first. The man slowly began to realize who was in front of him, and why he'd been approved for the job. All the associates have been killed, but the leader is afraid of such a fate. And it turns out there's no... The hero wonders what the man's name is, though he is useless. Waiting a little while, he calls out his name, Dun Ruo. When the hero heard that name, he couldn't believe his ears. He alone seeks out the best spies in all of the Middle Kingdom. He worked for Qin Shi Huang's organization. And of course, the hero decides to take this pawn to his collection. He will be able to lead a squad of shadow guards and can be the best commander for them. Only that's all assuming he has a high level of loyalty to the hero. Dune catches himself thinking that the hero's smile makes him feel very creepy. He tells the hero that he really doesn't know anything else. Since the mercenaries don't ask anything, the hero tries to calm down and get an answer to his question of whether he wants to work for him. The lad immediately had hope that he was not facing death. But the general not only won't kill him, he'll give him the title of the best assassin in the world. His loyalty is paramount. And at one point, to the entire room, he started laughing loudly. He wonders what good life we can talk about if a spy must always be in the shadows. The hero began to loosen Dunya's bonds, and saying he was doing it gratuitously. Now to get his freedom, he'll have to defeat Zhao Qi. That way, he will show his strength. The man's mood is all good, and he's not going to give up so easily. But all in just one swipe of the hero's leg. He flies off to the other side of the room. The soldiers were a little worried for the general, as they heard sounds coming from the room. And looking at what was going on there, they only had the thought of a pitiful sight. After a while, leaving the room, the hero notices that Dun is quite strong. He gives him the medicine and orders him to cure Dunjuo with it, and tells them that he's now working for them. Also gives orders to close all possible gates. We need to cut off all contact, and now Zhao is going to see Feng and talk to him. Upon entering the room, the soldier saw a man lying on the floor. Thoth said he was already ready to serve the strongest man in the 7 kingdoms. Outside, Hiro asks the system what Dunro's current allegiance is to the system. It turns out his level is currently at 65, and that's not a bad thing. But he's a hero until he dies, but it's a good start. In Feng Qiuji's courtyard, he was surrounded by corpses. When he saw the general, he began to thank him. He informs me that all the mercenaries are already on the payroll, and wonders what Zhao wanted. Turns out the hero wants to discuss a plan to turn the enemy's schemes against them. Feng worries that it's too much of a risk, but the general is willing to do anything for Qin. The main goal of land unification will be accomplished, no matter how much anyone stands in the way of that. The man didn't understand at first, and Zhao clarified that the mercenaries were not only from Zhao and Wei, but also from Shangyak. And when asked who did it, the hero replies that Li Sung did it. Fshine was shocked at how a responsible official could do such a thing. It's impossible. But Zhao tells us that this is not the first time he has tried. To find out more of the information you need to ask Hanye. He has known him for a long time. In general, Hiro advises caution. Feng promises to take the general's advice. Already begin preparations. And in his thoughts, he realizes that the hero's fears are not in vain at all, and you have to be vigilant. After a while, a letter arrives at Gentai Palace. Feng's report. The counselors, led by the chancellor, worried that something bad had happened. And the sovereign talks about the whole situation, with some secret details. There was panic among the people. They didn't know if Zhao was dead.
The Chancellor requests that General Main be sent to the place to ascertain the situation.
All counselors were in favor of such a decision. Li Si was overjoyed. He was able to punish his greatest enemy. The sovereign is giving orders. Secretly send Meng with a squad and a healer to help Zhao and Hanyu in a quiet situation. He's letting everyone go, and reminds them that this is highly classified information. When everyone's gone, he opens the letter again. There's a secret message. It says everything is fine with Zhao, and it's all just a maneuver against his enemies. The sovereign decides to help the hero, and even thinks about how many deeds he has done. And he never saw his face. He decides, after capturing the kingdom of Zhao, to invite the hero and his wife to his capital city. The girl notices that a large number of warriors are leaving together. She assumes that there will be war again and Zhao must be careful. In Sansheng, the military is asked to let them in, as they are under orders to rescue Zhao. All of this was overheard by a spy of Zhao's state, and he reports all information to the capital of the kingdom. The Chancellor and the Sovereign are pleased with such news. Their wonderful plan has been realized. Now they must prepare an army to attack. The Han spruces will now be under their control. The doctor is at Zhao's residence, rushing to help, but a soldier wants to stop him and explain everything. Xiao Wuju is a doctor. He claims he has no time. General Zhao is in danger. We must help him. Opening the doors to the meeting room. In front of him, he noticed Feng's advisor, his assistant Fei, and Zhao. The doctor stood in a stupor at this. He hadn't expected this. The soldier apologized to the general for not stopping Xia in time. A joyful Zhao apologized to the doctor. He said that they were a little busy right now as they were discussing military matters. The doctor asks what's going on here. The soldier says it's part of the general's plan. The enemy's military power is very large, the hero notes, and if they want to attack Han, they will choose Nanyang to attack. It's all thanks to the flat terrain there, and the cavalry will come first. And indeed she will be strong, so the hero thinks. But they have a countermeasure. The hero is only thinking about how to win this turf fight. That area is particularly well suited to the use of fire, very bright. What remains is purely combat, and now with the help of an army, the hero will be able to reach the celestial level. Dr. Sia's arrival was reported accurately by enemy spies, and now they'll be gathering an army to attack for about a month or so. The doctor had heard of the general, but he couldn't even imagine what he was like in real life. No wonder the sovereign trusts him so much. Also, the general's face seemed very familiar to him. As if it were someone familiar, a memory emerged of his daughter saying she would name her son with the sovereign, Qi. But the daughter left because of Jack, without saying goodbye, even though he asked her to stay with him. It turns out that Xia fainted. Zhaoqi wonders if he's all right. The doctor is madly reminded by the hero of his disappeared daughter. So much so that he mistook him for her, thought she was in front of him. He was insanely happy to see her. He finally saw her after 18 years. People didn't understand what happened to the doctor, and it makes a guy feel uncomfortable that a man won't let him go. The old man apologizes for this. He says he can no longer tell the difference between a dream and the real thing. And in the doctor's mind, the idea that the hero might come to him. But these thoughts are interrupted by the fact that hostilities are about to begin, and the doctor must be hidden. But the doctor couldn't afford such a thing. He can't leave a hero behind. He received orders from the king. The doctor has no authority to interfere in military affairs, but he will keep an eye on the hero. Except the hero has an insane amount of medication. Why would he need a personal physician? And you can't refuse a man like that. He is the sovereign's confidant. She will wait for further instructions. In the meantime, he can rest. He'll have a chance to find out if Zhao is really his grandson. The hero asks Fei if Dr. Xia is always so sentimental, but it was the first time he saw tears on his face. But a month later, on the border of Manyang, Zhao and Wei's army was actually ready. The senior general of the Wei Kingdom, Wei Tang, shared the hope that together they could regain their former power. One of the commanders in his mind was in agreement with the guy, and recognizes this general's talent, but some problems had appeared amongst them, over whether Zhao Qi's injury looked strange or not. But from the Qin army's reaction, which was very rambling, it was telling that they had a malfunction. Then comes the calm within the general. Now they can have the city. Tomorrow they can advance on Han territory, and they want to drink to that. By gaining access to the lands, they would be able to limit the Qin Kingdom's withdrawal even more. Meanwhile, the hero is informed that an attack on them is planned for tomorrow. One of his subordinates will command the battlefield. The only thing he has to do is defend the city, until new orders come down. And also Zhao wonders if the second, all the things that had been planned, should be prepared. Dr. Xia is not allowed by the guards to monitor his underling's health. When the hero hears this, he asks to be replaced. Because Wuju is coming, he's the only person who makes him panic. After going through all the security, the man does not find his target. He's told the general is away on business, though he himself stood behind the column and listened to the dialogue of the three men. And that's where the memories come in that explain such panic. He made him eat special vegetables. The doctor even reminded the hero that it would soon be time to go to bed. All for the health of the greatest general of all. From all this concern, Zhao Qi has successfully run away far away, even though the hero realizes that the man won't let go of him. When the next sunny day arrives, the soldiers of the kingdom of Qin began to notice the enemy army. A large number of fighters gathered, both on horseback and on foot, and most importantly, with a great desire to destroy the enemy army. With no chance of life, all to bring back the past great glory of the three kingdoms. The hero notes that at this moment the wall is about 300 zhanis away, and now with the advance of the troops, the distance is decreasing every second. In a moment, there were 200 left, and the moment the enemies entered the 150 range, they can be attacked. And a whole wave of what looks like a rain of arrows. But not only arrows flew at them, but also a pile of big rocks. All these ways of killing worked very well on the enemies, which he is pleased with, very much so. The archers have gotten a lot better since the last fight. The hero also began gaining experience for the feats of his subordinates. He now gets 1/4 of the experience for kills by his soldiers. In time, already the sun has set far away. To the enemy general, a report cozies of heavy losses on their part. They didn't expect such bravery. There was speculation that they might have someone other than Zhao Qi. It raises questions as to why the general's condition didn't affect his men in any way. For all soldiers, he gives the order to attack to the last man until he rescinds his order. And the army is ready to carry out its general's orders, to deal with the enemy archers. The crossbow they put up against them as a good counter to them. And already stones are flying towards the defenses of the kingdom of Qin. Now they are being ordered to retreat to their rear positions. You have to maintain all your positions, defend your territory. Now the enemy army is moving forward. Now it's pushing on Qin. We must keep going like this. Now without Zhao Qi, the Qin army won't be so brave. That's what they think. After Nanyang, they're going to further take away territories. Qin soldiers, though they were surprised at this onslaught, but they vowed to defend the city at all costs. The hero notes that the general, though with such losses, still continues to attack. The commander gives the order to use all prepared traps. The doctor observes that the general is indeed a great talent in his field of expertise. He's the same one who says the hero doesn't need to hide from him, and apologizes for any inconvenience. The man realizes that war is a terrible event. At the same moment, the commander announces in his voice the real attack, and heroes brimming with fortitude and magical energy, and several armies engaged in battle against other armies. All good self against enemies, all working traps. Also, the deadly fire was insanely bright. Watching these brutal scenes, the doctor couldn't watch at all, and the hero observes that this is what war looks like. All of this will go on for more than just one day. But it's all done for one purpose in the life of the state. Dr. Xia was madly surprised. A very similar energy, almost the same as the king's. Thanks to Qin soldiers, they could finish all this in 10 days. And maybe things will calm down. And then calmly, Dr. Sia decides to ask the hero one important question. In his mind were thoughts of his daughter, whom Zhao resembled. Sha couldn't ask what he was interested in. He decides to leave and not be disturbed by his questions. The hero was surprised at this behavior and tormented by the question he wanted to ask. Already in the sunlight, on the battlefield, the fighting was almost over. The soldiers lay on the ground. The enemy soldiers had already started to retreat since their general had given such an order. How quickly, Zhao didn't expect. The result of the night battle was as follows. No one got past the wall. 20,000 opponents were killed, and not many of the Qin army died. Most were cured by the medicine. The hero orders the next few days to be defensive, but at the same time to show weakness, and thus giving them hope that they have a chance to retake the city. Pannuan is not so easily fooled, and so, on the second day of the assault of the kingdom, the enemy begins his offensive once more. They use their shields to pass the arrow fire, and today the army retreated. This time they lost 10,000, and the general is ordering the same action. On the third day, the enemies began using catapults again, but also the heroes were able to get around this by using cover. Their main goal is to leave the wall intact, even though today the army lowered their defenses and allowed themselves to be attacked, but they still retreated. The hero praised this and ordered them to keep it up. Already on the 7th day of the assault, in the opponent's war tent, the senior general reports that they have already lost over 50,000 soldiers. Because of such a long assault, morale has dropped significantly. But the general, hearing this information, still ordered the offensive. He notes that a general must be able not only to give orders to soldiers, but also to assess the situation. And then he asked if General Wei really hadn't noticed anything in the Qin army's actions. And then he caught his beautiful thought. While they haven't broken through the defenses, they're even less defensive. And it's obvious they're short on supplies, so they need to continue the assault. The city will be in their hands tonight, and already on the battlefield. It's announced that anyone who makes it into the city will receive a cash reward, and all the cavalry, bows in hand, and with the desire to get the money. And it gives them motivation to make sure that this time the city is theirs. The general wonders if they should make a show of weakness, or is it okay to fight in the open? And the hero thinks it's time to take out the nets and catch them all. He wonders if Sheng Han will prepare what Shao requested. Leaving, the hero reminds that the soldiers need to lose beautifully, and the general promises to lose very handsomely. And he announces the general's orders to everyone, that now they have to lose this fight. The soldiers were overjoyed. Almost the whole time of this assault they had feared they would win. They realized that this is their last duel. They will act as Qin's soldiers. The general noticed that the soldiers who would formerly be in the Han detachment were now so excited about the victory of the Qin Kingdom. He asks the soldiers to focus on meeting the enemy and show them the skills. So running somehow they'll see her. Before the show, they shoot them with arrows. With the enemy using ladders and crossbows, it worked out. They were able to break through the defenses, and their joy is unbounded. At last they were able to do what they wanted to accomplish. The general is informed that the soldiers have already climbed the Nanyang Wall. He's going to get ready for the battering ram. And so the huge device rolls toward the gates of the city, and the enemies already want to tear the gate to pieces. And General too. It is reported that everything is ready. And now the soldiers are inside the city. They did it after 7 agonizing days. The general of the Qin army orders his soldiers to retreat. The soldiers have one goal: to destroy Qin, once and for all. 10,000 cavalrymen guarding the wagon from the rear. The general is informed that after his soldiers entered the city, it appears that the Qing army has fled. He wonders if the commander-in-chief, and indeed there was not a single commander-in-chief in the city, nor a soldier. The fact that there weren't even any civilians there shocked the general to find such a thing. It's only then that he realizes they're trapped, and everyone needs to run. And just at that moment, everything went up in flames like a match. The soldiers were trapped in a fire trap. Everyone started burning alive. To try to escape in any way, Zhao Qi watched from far away as an entire city burned, with enemies inside. And after a time, he decides to go to meet Pan Nuan. He is told that they have sealed off all entrances and exits to keep the fire from spreading, and the hero recalls the 100 he ordered him to secure the back gate, so that he would have a chance to get out. Meanwhile, people were trying to save themselves and just somehow survive their situation. Protect the generals. One of them blamed himself for them being here now. If he had foreseen it, everything would have been fine. But how here, through the shouting, could it be heard that the soldiers had found a way out of the trap? General Wei's joy was simply indescribable. He just shivered at the fact that he wasn't going to die. But immediately, in a moment of realization, his face changed again, already sad and disappointed. It turns out that Qin's army was already in front of them, led by Zhao, who could no longer imagine seeing Pan Nu Anya in front of him. General Wei couldn't understand who was standing in front of him at this moment, and why he was leading the Qin army. But the senior general understood at once, and asked the other not to be foolish. Only one person could come up with such a plan. The information about General Zhao's injury was just a ruse, and they all fell for all. The hero was honored that they knew his name. The city is engulfed in flames, an insane number of soldiers killed by them. The man observes that Zhao is a cold-blooded tactician, and in response the hero says that in war, any means is good. The hero emphasizes respect for the general, and so he wants to ask, will they decide to surrender or continue fighting? The general remarks that he is to blame for all the problems. He's not at all sorry to die. He is willing to die, but in return, he wants the hero to keep his soldiers alive. The hero remarks that it won't be enough, since there are two states, Zhao and Wei, so they must die together. General Wei didn't want to die because of it, but in answer to him, his ally, remarks that the general must die to keep the soldiers alive. But to him he was unconvinced. He rushed to flee because if he died there would be no heir to the kingdom, and he ordered his soldiers to flee, even though the archers were going to shoot the escapee. But the hero realized he'd run away anyway. He took his own bow and decides to start in charge. He fired and hit the target. The general didn't get far. He's stipulating that if General Wei wants to survive, he needs to stop. Since this arrow was purely a warning, everyone was surprised from such a hit. Zhao remarked that the general who stayed behind was worth respecting. Kneeling down and thrusting his sword through, he surrendered. General Zhao was able to stop the army with one arrow. Zhao accepts their surrender, and now they can live. He also wonders if he should say something to the man before he dies. He wanted to thank heaven for that, for being able to meet such a talented man. The hero notes that even if he was afraid of being born in another state, he would still join the Qin because in the kingdom of Qin he can be really highly valued. The enemy general was shocked that this whole war was to unite all the remaining lands. Zhao is not going to argue with General Pan because he respects his views, so he just walks away. Instead, he screams for all former Han soldiers to come forward, and immediately at the same moment, hundreds of voices came out. He asked them still, Leonida Princess Wuhan, or have they already fully wore the Qin Kingdom, but that they all claim to have become Qin warriors. The hero asks if Zhao's country really sent spies to start a rebellion, but everyone refused. The kneeling general heard the soldiers recite their state, when Qin will unite all 5 lands. Here, even the civilians will be for them. All this realizing the general became more and more sad. We had his life ended by the protagonist with a single swing of his sword. The heroes noticed that even before his death, the general stood his ground. If he would not have gotten the reward for him, he would have let him live. And now on horseback he announces that General Pan is dead, which means they've won the battle. Zhao speculates what kind of reward the king might give him. Perhaps he could become the youngest senior general in history. But the main thing is that in the system, he has now gotten a post-Sky Stage 9 degree. 10,000 soldiers were killed in this battle. It had a target city that was completely destroyed. The hero orders to give the commander a signal. Most of Qin's soldiers emerged from the rubble, and though a fire was made, there were 0 deaths and only 2 people injured. The hero is pleased with these results. He asks for the time being to rest the soldiers and plus make every effort to heal the wounded fighters. He also orders all soldiers to be taken into custody, those who are wounded severely or easily treated. In his mind, the captain begins to ponder something that really would never betray his general. Although the suggestions were interesting, there was immediate news of a victory on the front lines. Li Da ambushed Zhao and Wei's main headquarters, and they were victorious. The cargo was completely taken away. This he was very happy about. Now the battle in their situation could be called officially over. He orders no one to divulge anything about this battle after all the days they will return to their camp. The hero already wants to start implementing his plan before the results of this battle are announced. When he comes in, he orders that no one be allowed in because he wants to count the rewards. He gained a very large amount of experience. He finally made it to that 9th level, and just short of 10th. He suggests that the points for killing the commander might be enough to break through to the next stage. He has only received more than 1,000 points and is just a little bit left to pump level 10 with the experience gained. He asks the system to improve to the maximum pain points, and the system follows all the orders given to it. If the hero, yes, reaches for the heavens in a level, he will become immortal in this world at all. I'm satisfied with the reward for this fight. Now we wait for the news of the victory to reach the capital. But when all other states are subdued, and the hero reaches the heavenly level, he can live with his beloved and children. Highlights Dr. Sia, who was able to cure a large number of soldiers with his help. And now the heroes realized why the doctor had not come back for days. He was training doctors here. Now he decides to go to the doctor and talk to him. He thanks him for all the efforts he has made to restore the soldiers. Here's the one who asks you not to say that, but notes that under the general's control, the loss of soldiers is minimal. He is about to leave since the hero's plan with the sovereign is over. But before he does, he has something to ask about. And he talks about his daughter who went missing a few years ago. Yichao reminds her very much of her. Could he be her son? Now the hero understood why the doctor behaved so strangely at their first meeting. It was because of a daughter named Ipan. It is believed that only this girl was truly loved by the king, and he built a palace in her honor. He'd heard the story, but was it true? He asks for the name of his daughter, and indeed her birth name was Ipan. The man wonders what the hero's mom's name was. He says he doesn't want to disappoint him, but his mom's name was Zhao Dunir, so there's no way he's his grandson. In the world you can find people similar to each other, but the main character hopes that the father will find his daughter, but the doctor doesn't have much faith in such a coincidence. At what age could a daughter just change her name? He's wondering if he can meet Hiro's mom, and with painful words he talks about the fact that a year ago his mom died. Was surprised at this, and apologized at once. He thought it was not necessary for him to ask it, but do the right thing. He understands a father's desire to find his own daughter. He thanks the general for clearing up some of his doubts, and bids him farewell, and he's already coming out pretty upset. Can't believe it's just a coincidence. But then he stopped, and decided that he couldn't lose his only hope. He'll go to the village and try to find out if Zhao is his grandson.